the 5th of June, 1942, 14,800 feet above the Midway Atoll, North Pacific Ocean, United States. In this exact moment, the war shifted. A single decision made minutes earlier set everything in motion. But almost no one understood what was truly happening. What unfolded here would alter the fate of nations. And it all began with a mistake no one recognized. Until it was too late. In this video, we uncover the hidden sequence of events that led to Japan's catastrophic defeat at Midway, and why historians now believe it could have changed the course of the entire war. By early June 1942, Japan's naval command believed it was on the brink of completing its domination of the Pacific. Its carriers had swept through Southeast Asia and the Central Pacific with staggering speed. Morale was high, confidence unshakable. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's plan to seize Midway seemed, on paper, devastatingly effective. A massive strike force would lure the battered U.S. Pacific Fleet into a decisive battle. One crushing blow, he believed, would break American resistance for years. But beneath that confidence was an uncomfortable truth. Japan's intelligence picture was murky. The U.S. had grown unpredictable, and signals traffic held subtle warnings senior officers did not fully interpret. A storm front moved across the northern Pacific, adding uncertainty to an already delicate operation. Pilots were exhausted. Reconnaissance flights were delayed. Minor issues were dismissed as unimportant. But beneath the surface, a disaster was already forming. Hours before the decisive clash, the Japanese carrier force led by Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu prepared to launch another wave of aircraft. Their goal, destroy the American base at Midway once and for all. A reconnaissance plane, launched late from the cruiser Tone, scanned the vast waters ahead. Its launch delay was considered trivial. A minor inconvenience, but timing mattered more than anyone realized. Meanwhile, Admiral Chuichi Nagumo faced a dilemma. His first strike on Midway had inflicted damage, yes, but not enough. Reports from the returning pilots were mixed. Some said the American air defenses remained strong. Others claimed the base was nearly neutralized. Nagumo hesitated. His torpedo bombers were still armed for anti-ship strikes. If he sent them against Midway as they were, effectiveness would be limited. If he rearmed them with land attack munitions, it would take time. At 7:15 a.m., he ordered the rearming. Mechanics scrambled. Bomb carts rolled. Torpedoes were lowered. Fragmentation bombs were hauled up from magazines. Every moment pushed them closer to the point of no return. Then, at 7:28 a.m., the delayed reconnaissance plane sent a brief, almost casual message: sighted enemy forces, bearing 10, distance 240. Ambiguity hung in the air. What kind of enemy forces? How many? Carriers? Cruisers? Nagumo demanded clarification. The reply was slow to come. And then, at 7:40 a.m., everything aligned for disaster. The follow-up message finally arrived. Enemy appears to include a carrier. Nagumo froze. This was the moment that sealed their fate. His rearming decks were in chaos, bombs half-loaded, torpedoes scattered, fuel lines stretched across the floor. His aircraft were in the worst possible configuration for a sudden carrier engagement, but he had to choose. Launch immediately with whatever planes were ready, a disastrously small and unbalanced strike, or continue rearming and risk being caught mid-preparation. Nagumo chose to finish the rearm. It was a decision rooted in doctrine, training, and assumptions formed over months of unchecked success. Japanese commanders believed they would dictate the tempo of the battle, that the Americans were slow, reactive, fractured. Nagumo did not know that the U.S. carriers Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown were already in perfect position thanks to intelligence breakthroughs Japan never suspected. As the flight decks below him swarmed with activity, he believed he had time. He did not. And within minutes, the sky would prove it. Within seconds, the first American attack groups appeared on the horizon, low-flying torpedo bombers from Hornet and Enterprise, approaching in scattered formations. Chows erupted. Japanese lookouts screamed warnings. Anti-aircraft guns swung into position. The carriers began violent evasive maneuvers. Everything fell apart at once. Torpedo bombers pressed their attacks bravely but disastrously. Nearly all were shot down. Yet their sacrifice forced the Japanese carriers into constant turns, preventing them from launching their own aircraft. Below deck, the situation was far worse. Bombs sat next to fuel lines. Torpedoes lay unsecured. Aviation gasoline pooled beneath aircraft being hastily repositioned. Crews sprinted between tasks as officers barked contradictory orders. Then, as the final torpedo planes fell into the sea, a second American wave appeared. Dive bombers from Enterprise in Yorktown, arriving at the perfect moment. Japan's guns were pointed the wrong way. Its fighters were at the wrong altitude. Its decks were fatally overloaded. In mere minutes, Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu became infernos, flames erupting across the decks, ammunition cooking off, black smoke rising tens of thousands of feet into the sky. The Japanese carrier force, the pride of its navy, was shattered before it fully understood what was happening. This wasn't just a tactical loss, it reshaped the war itself. The destruction of 3 carriers and later a 4th gutted the experienced Japanese aviation corps. Japan lost irreplaceable pilots, flight crews, officers, and the organizational backbone of its naval air force. The dreams of driving deep into the Pacific evaporated almost overnight. Plans to seize Hawaii, pressure Australia, and threaten the U.S. West Coast were abandoned permanently. The initiative shifted. The U.S. Navy, once reeling and defensive, now had momentum. With Japan's carrier strength crippled, American shipyards and training programs already ramping into high gear would soon surge far beyond anything Japan could match. The consequences reached far beyond the battlefield. Midway marked the beginning of a relentless American advance, one that would push through the Solomon Islands, across the Central Pacific, and ultimately all the way to Japan's doorstep. The truth was far stranger than anyone realized. Nagumo's fateful decision, the one that left his decks exposed at the worst possible moment, was not merely a tactical choice. It was the product of a hidden chain of factors Japan never understood. American cryptanalysts had broken Japan's naval code, giving the U.S. advance knowledge of where and when the strike would occur. Japanese intelligence had underestimated American carrier strength by failing to detect Yorktown's rapid repairs after the Coral Sea battle. The delayed reconnaissance plane, a small, seemingly trivial launch issue, prevented accurate early detection that would have changed Nagumo's entire plan. Rigid doctrine demanded perfect coordination before launching, a doctrine fundamentally mismatched to the chaotic reality of carrier warfare. Japan believed it controlled the battlefield. In truth, it was walking into a perfectly laid trap. And it explains why this moment became one of World War II's most misunderstood turning points. In the aftermath of Midway, Japan struggled to recover the power and prestige it had enjoyed just months earlier. Though its navy would fight fiercely in the battles to come, the loss of 4 frontline carriers created a gap that could never be closed. What they didn't know was how close the war came to a very different outcome. Had Nagumo chosen differently, had reconnaissance arrived minutes earlier, had assumptions been challenged instead of embraced, Midway might have ended in Japan's favor. Instead, one small, overlooked decision, made under pressure and uncertainty, changed everything. In the chaos of World War II, one moment could decide the fate of millions. If you want more hidden World War II stories like this, consider subscribing.